If you give a dad a podcast, then what else would you even want to listen to? It's old news. If you give a dad a podcast, then it would be of you to give it a spin or two, or go to your room. I'm in my room rounded, but I got a podcast on.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming back to this show. I am very excited to be here today to talk to my guest. I have a very special guest for you guys today. She is an actress, a singer, a writer, a producer. She kind of does a little bit of everything. She is the owner of Sovereignty Entertainment. She is also the co-owner of Von Burrise Productions. We know her from doing work with Danger Force, Heart of Dixie, and a whole lot more. But where I first saw her was as Tanya Sloan from Power Rangers Zeo. She is the Yellow Ranger. I'm talking about Nakia Burrise. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, definitely. Like I told you before this, I'm very excited to get on here and talk to you about, everything that you've got going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, as I told you before, and going to go ahead and tell my listeners this, we will talk about the Power Ranger side of everything, but I want to focus more on some of the other things that you have going on right now, because I know you've been very busy. You've got a movie that just came out. You've had some other projects that you've been a part of. You've got a comic book that you're working on, in fact. And so I kind of want to focus on those things. As I said before, I had JD on the show. And we talked a little bit about some of the things that you guys have done. And so now I think it's, kind of cool that I'm going to be able to have your side of everything when it comes to everything that you're doing now.
I love it. I love it. Let's go.
So first off, though, let's just get a little bit of backstory here. You started off, you went to UCLA. I think you were one of 50 people that were accepted into an acting program there. What was that like getting into that program, and getting started with this? Did you know that you wanted to be an actress at a very young age?
I knew as a child, a young child, that I wanted to be a performer. I always said I was going to be an actress, singer, dancer, model, and a cashier. I know
All
it's the
right.
cashier part where people are like, what? I just like to press the buttons. I liked hearing the sound for some
Yeah.
reason. And I can honestly say that God has blessed me with all of that. Also been a cashier. Yes, I used to watch the Carol Burnett show growing up, Fred Sanford and Son. Um, I would perform inside of the living room in front of my parents and make them be the audience, force my brother to perform with me. Um, I've always just had a knack for entertaining and making people smile. Like I love comedy. I love drama as well, but I love performing comedy because there's so much you can just take someone out of their gloominess. And bring them into, even if it's just for a second, a moment of laughter.
Right.
That just to be able to do that is just fun, and to be on a comedy set, and it's there's so much laughter that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a lot of fun. Again, I love drama as well, but definitely comedy is my thing for sure.
And you
Um,
you can tell that from some of the the things I've watched. I actually got to watch Class Dismissed today, and
oh.
I loved it. I thought it was great. It had me laughing throughout the entire thing. And you can tell that when you're in the comedies that you're doing stuff, you feel very comfortable in that atmosphere. And so yeah, it was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So back to Bridgewood stemmed from it was an extension of Class Dismissed, the same characters.
Okay.
It was a web series that I wrote, co-wrote in 2015. We did 2 seasons and I wanted to do a movie. And I sat with it for a while and I was like, I'm gonna do this movie. I'm gonna do this movie, but I wanted to add an inspirational part to it. I wanted my faith to come into play. And so that's when I added a couple of characters, but namely Paul, to add a spiritual element to it. And then also, Liz discovering herself and so forth. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but yes, definitely.
It, the class dismissed part of it, though, you said that it stems from that, and I saw, some parallels and stuff in there. And like you said, it's some of the characters are coming back, and it's, the show itself, I caught some different elements in there that reminded me of some other shows that I really enjoy watching. I love the meta where you come and you talk to the people and everything like that, and it's a really fun way to kind of bring people in a little bit more into what you're trying to tell this in the story.
Right. So the confessionals were everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had to cut a lot of it because what I would do was we'd have scripted lines and then we'd let the actors improvise and just come up with whatever they wanted. And some of the
Yeah.
things that they came up with, we were laughing for days, but I couldn't
Right.
keep everything.
Yeah.
But here's a little note about Class Dismiss. So when I finished Power Rangers, I didn't have a series directly to go to. Of course, I was blessed with work throughout my career, guest star role here, recurrent role here, and so forth. But in between those times, I started substitute teaching in the inner
Oh,
city of Los Angeles. And Class Dismissed parallels some of the characters, some of the students, and some of the teachers that I met during my time of teaching. Um, and I'm like, I always wondered, like, Lord, why am I teaching? I'm just supposed to be acting, but that's what brought Class Dismissed, and furthermore, it extended into back to Bridgewood. It was a lot of my own personal experience that I wrote in Class Dismissed. Of course,
right.
some of it was a little bit more embellished, but a lot of it, some of those teachers were on point. BJ, I met a character like BJ, a character like Anne, a character like oh my gosh, Nancy. Like it was, yeah, it was a diverse cast of characters of people that I've actually experienced in my own life as well, and even Timmy.
Yeah.
Um, One of the students that I had that I taught, because I would take over classrooms, and I was a substitute teacher for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, yeah, in between. So when I didn't have acting, and substitute teaching allowed me to pursue my acting because I could, teach. And then if I got booked a job, I can go do the job. And so I would take over classrooms because a lot of the teachers were exhausted and going off on leave and all of that. So, it allowed me to work as often as I could. Um, but Timmy paralleled a character. Well, how do I say this? There was a young man
Yeah.
in one of my classrooms that was just he had a one-on-one. And a one-on-one, which people might not know, is when a child has to have an adult present with them, because they have either social skills or they might have autism or Asperger's, and they need that extra support. And
Right.
so yeah, I had many students actually that were similar to Timmy, but there was one in particular, that I wrote about that paralleled Timmy's character.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, and I know you hear this all the time. You write what and being able to bring in real life experiences into it, I'm sure helped with the writing process.
absolutely. Well, yeah, you have to write what you know, because if you're
Right.
sitting there, talking about stuff that you have no idea about, it's
Yeah.
not, I don't think it's going to resonate with the audience. So that was important. I could talk for long periods of time about things that I've experienced,
Right.
um, because I think most people write about things that they've experienced or things that they've come up with and they want to become a reality.
Right. Yeah. Once you're trying to write about something you don't know, it almost feels like rambling, and people kind of
Yes.
like, what are you talking about? So
Yeah.
yeah. But so when it comes to another project that you're working on, I do want to kind of get into this a little bit about your process, because I know I've seen your name come up a lot when it comes to being the writer for a lot of these different projects. What is your process like when it comes to writing these different shows or the writing the comic books and things like that?
So I'll start with a comic book. I was petrified to write the comic book because I'd never written a comic book before, didn't know the format, didn't know any of that. And actually, kudos to JD because JD is the one that was like, Nakia, you need to write a comic book. And I was like, JD, I don't know how to write a comic book. So I reached out to Boom and told them I was interested in writing a comic book, and they got back to me immediately. And I was like, oh, but after discussing, so JD and I discussed the story, and he came up with an idea that stemmed from a Snake Eyes comic book that he read many, many years ago. And he was like, how about this? And so we took that story, and then I told him that I needed to write about Tanya, where she is now, and who she ends up with. So we took his idea combined with my idea, and we created Tanya's Heavy Metal Rescue. And fans have always asked me, where do you think Tanya is now? Who do you think she ends up with? Because they always wanted her to end up with Adam. They always, on
Yeah,
the show, it was always alluded to that we had a relationship, but it was never, it was never explored
right.
because I don't feel like we were central characters. It was more, the focus was more on Tommy and whoever Tommy was dating. And so for me, it started with that. We discussed what the story was going to be. And then literally I just start writing. I start writing, we split the pages. I start writing the first 4 pages, and he was supposed to write the last 4 pages because it was an 8 page writing for Tanya's Heavy Metal Rescue.
Yeah.
And then we read the story together and then made our tweaks, and then Boom edited it and pretty much kept the entire story. There were just a couple of minor things that they ended up tweaking, asked us for permission to tweak, and we tweaked a couple of things, and hence came forth Tanya's Heavy Metal Rescue.
Yeah.
With my comedy writing, it was pretty much the same. I had to sit and discuss what I wanted in the story. Thomas Lazar helped me write Class Dismissed. And so we sat and we talked about what we wanted to happen in each episode, and we just pretty much outlined it. I would just start writing dialogue and see what worked and see what jokes worked and what didn't work.
Right.
And then we would read it out loud and then just edit it from there and go forth. Um, and then we ended up bringing in a polished writer to just look over everything, Tim Davis, for Back to Bridgewood, because I had never written a true like movie. So I wanted to make sure the format was right and that everything was just correct. And so because Tim Davis had done that before, I brought him in to tweak the things that needed to be tweaked and to format it the way that we needed it to be formatted. And then Back to Bridgewood was formed.
That's awesome. And I've learned this with different people that I've had on the show. There's a lot of parallels between writing comics and writing for film and stuff, because you have people like a storyboard artist. A lot of people use that in their for making TV and stuff like that. I've had some comic book artists on the show that they've transferred over to start doing stuff with television and film because of storyboard art and things like that.
Yeah. So JD and I have a new project called the Never Never Kids, and that's exactly what we plan on doing. So it's going to start off as a comic book series. That's the goal, if God says so. And we'd like to streamline it into either a television show or a movie. And I think it's definitely going to be helpful because it is pretty much going to be storyboarded.
Right.
Uh, and then we can just change it into a script format and go from there. I'm excited. I'm excited because this is a new venture. I got the comic writing bug from writing the first comic,
Yeah.
Tanya's Heavy Metal Rescue, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's see what we can do from this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And you brought up a minute ago that people were asking you about, well, what's Tanya doing now and things like that. You're one of the only characters that actually hasn't actually come back in Power Rangers, and so there was kind of I've had a few friends that have actually come up with different stories. What's Tanya doing now, and things like that, because we never found out. After she was gone, she was gone. Other ones have, from Mighty Morphin and stuff have come back, to show you where they're at now. And so it was really cool to see that, story come out with you, because now we have a little bit of a insight into what's going on.
Yeah, I really appreciated the fact that I was able to tell my own story.
Yeah.
And yes, my entire cast has come back
Hmm.
except me.
Right.
And I've had feelings about that in the past, but what I also had to recognize is that my entire cast was also in Mighty Morphin. They actually wore the suit in Mighty Morphin. I
Right.
was the only one because Karen decided to leave. Aisha
Yep.
decided to leave, and I replaced her. That entire cast that she was a part of, went on to do Zio, and
Right.
I was the new girl. So,
Right.
so the entire Mighty Morphin cast in all of the seasons has been back, some multiple times, but my character hasn't. My toy made a show in the Once and Always, but I wasn't present. So
Yeah. Actually, over here somewhere, I've got it back here somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but
all the Lightning collection. Wow.
I've got a lot of them. So I actually have some friends who, I've always been a huge Power Rangers fan. But I've been doing this podcast for a little while now, and they invited me to be part of their network, and they're called the Zio to Hero podcast. And
Oh,
so they've kind of gotten me into the collecting toys and stuff. This wasn't always this cool back here behind me with all these different toys. It used to just be garage, and I didn't do video. So
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. Power Rangers collections have become quite a staple, and especially when you get them signed, they can be
Right.
worth quite a bit of money. I mean, if you
Right.
go on eBay, and look at some of the things and what they're selling for, it's jaw-dropping. It's pretty
It
cool.
is.
And
Yeah.
Heritage, gosh, what are they called? Heritage, they just did
The
all of
auction.
the auction. Yeah,
Yeah.
Auctions just did all of, sold millions,
Yeah.
millions
Yeah.
people paid for the Power Rangers. I was like, I mean, I was a part of it. I was helping them promote,
Hmm.
and to see what some people paid for it. It was incredible.
Yeah. I'm a part of a few groups on Facebook that is Power Rangers collectible toys and stuff like that. And I would see these people, oh, well, I got this off of the Heritage auction. I'm like, well, how? Because these things are going for astronomical amounts of money. I'm like,
Yes.
they've got full setups. I saw one guy on there. He has Ivan Ooze, like he has the original suit from the movie,
Wow.
with the like a, and then he has like some of his minions there with him, that came from the movie, and he has like this whole little set with like one of the Power Rangers. I think he had like the Pink Ranger suit or something. I'm like, for one, where do you find the money for that kind of stuff? And for two, where do you find the space for that stuff too? Because my goodness, that's he had a whole setup behind him, and it was cool. A little jealous, I'll go ahead and say that, but it was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's very humbling to think that Power Rangers has such First of all, our fandom is just amazing. I'm so blessed
Yeah.
to be a part of it. No one could have told me 30 years ago that people would still remember my character.
Yeah.
I'm just truly blessed um, that we have such a cult following and that it's become generational. And I also thank Netflix for that because they had all the Power Rangers on there for quite some time.
Right.
And because of that, it introduced, babies to it. And those that watched us 30 years ago are now adults, so their parents and grandparents watched it, and now their grandchildren are watching it, and so
Right.
it's amazing. It's
It
amazing.
is. It is. So what was it like seeing all that stuff being auctioned off for you? Like seeing like your suit being auctioned, was it kind of a surreal moment, or what kind of emotions were going on when that happened?
Well, my suit was missing, the one that I actually
Oh,
wore.
okay.
So I don't know where that was. So my suit that was auctioned was actually the stunt was worn by the stunt guys.
Gotcha.
Um, but it was I don't know. Like when I saw everything and saw some of Some of them were a little worn down because, over time.
Right.
But some of them looked really, really great. And they brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Pat and I were going down memory lane when we were just looking at them. And then when I heard how much some of them were going for, jaw dropping, jaw dropping that.
Right.
Because when we were speaking to some of the heritage reps, they were telling us about Game of Thrones because they did that for Game of Thrones as well, and they were
Okay.
saying how many millions, like the chair, the Game of Thrones chair had gone
Yeah.
for. It's like, wow, oh my gosh! And then to hear Power Rangers, I was like, wow, that also went for millions.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. That just is a testament to how popular and
Yeah.
how much Power Rangers has meant to so many people.
For sure. I mean, and the thing was, is that growing up, not only was it cool to see all the action, but they had a lesson in there a lot of times. Like, I think I remember I've been rewatching some of Zio, and it was maybe episode two, had to do with, uh, you know, somebody was trying to get you to help them to cheat on a test, you know, and you were like, that's not right, and you stood your ground, and so there was a message in these episodes too that, it wasn't just let's go get the bad guys, there was something in there. They were bringing in, morals and things like that for the kids to have a lesson in the story.
Right. Yeah. And at the time, again, I didn't realize the impact
Yeah.
um, that the messages were giving children.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't learn that until I started attending conventions. Yeah, and we also got letters from fans that would come in and we would read letters and see how much Power Rangers meant. But to hear them in person and to say that you were inside of my hospital room
Yeah.
when I had surgery, and you don't know what this episode meant to me, or I got into martial arts because of you. Because I saw you on screen, it made me feel like, as a brown person, I could do anything. Like there were so many things that Power Rangers brought to than children
Right.
that I had no idea. We 99% of the time when somebody comes to our table, they say, "You were my childhood."
Yeah. Yeah.
And because we were their childhood, we made an impact that has lasted for a very long time.
Right. I will say my favorite one, though, the most memorable episode for me was the one where you and Tommy were trying to you were trying to help him practice for like a musical or something, and you guys both through the rest of the episode are singing, and whenever you go to it's morphin time, it's like opera, and that one always cracked me up. I'm a big music person. I love music, so that one always stuck out to me.
It's funny that is one of my favorite episodes,
Okay.
and we hear all the time that is a favorite.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Jason did not want to sing. He was mortified because he was like, "I can't sing,"
Yeah.
and I was telling him, "You don't have to be in tune. This is not for a record deal."
Yeah.
And so then when he started singing, you couldn't get him to shut up. So when the cameras were off, we were, it'd be lunchtime and we'd be singing by the craft service, and he'd be like, "Nakia, do you want a carrot?" And I'd be like, "No." We got on the cast and the crew's nerves because we would not shut up. It was fun.
That's
It was
wonderful. That made my day here.
fun.
So I do kind of want to switch back over to talking about some of your projects and stuff. I want to talk a little bit more about Back to Bridgewood. This is something that you said just came out in March, I believe. March 4th was it when it came out?
Yes,
And it's
March
already
4th.
won some awards, in fact.
Yes, yes. We've won Best Faith-Based. We're nominated for Best Actress, Best Director, Best Film. We've also won Best Comedy. Um, yeah, we were up for even the nominations were just a blessing because I wasn't
Yeah.
even planning on doing film festivals, and so I did I think three, only three. I
Okay.
think I applied to four and we got into three and we're nominated for so many awards. But yes, Back to Bridgewood is my first I would say real feature film because Class Dismissed was a web series that I combined all the episodes to
Yeah.
make it into a film and sold it.
Yeah.
But this was formatted as a film and is an actual film. It's an inspirational comedy about Liz Johnson, who at the end, if you see the end of Class Dismiss, Liz Johnson auditions for a commercial, a
Yeah.
national commercial, and she books it.
Right.
And so from then you can just, in your mind, imagine it, her career eventually takes off. And so now when you meet her in Back to Bridgewood, she thinks she is Beyonce. And she needs to come off of her high horse and she needs to come back and find herself.
Right.
And so she journeys through her life, hitting complete rock bottom. When I say complete rock bottom, she loses everything
Yeah.
and literally has to sleep on her best friend's couch and in her hometown. And so she goes back to her roots to discover her faith, her hope in who she is again. Um, and then she's able to go back into her career, but on a different note this time, really
Yeah.
appreciating who she is.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've also started podcasting now, and I know that you have the Power Rangers Playback, I believe it is what it's called, that you do with Catherine. Um, what made you start doing that, and how's it going with that now?
So we have a YouTube channel and we started a podcast, Super Chat, with Kat and Nakia. We've done 2 seasons, but we haven't really been adding on to that with the podcast. But our YouTube channel, we started that in 2000, right before the pandemic started, and
Okay.
literally January. And so everything shut down in March. And so actually it allowed us to still be creative, and we had so much time on our hands. Um, and it was a way to bring Power Ranger fans together,
Hmm.
a community. And what we found is we have channel members and we have a Discord, and they're talking 24 hours a day. It was a way that we were able to answer some of the fan questions because they've always asked us, what happened behind the scenes in this episode, and how did you feel about this? And so initially, Power Rangers Playback was supposed to be where we're going to watch episodes and tell you what was happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
Well, right when we were about to launch the first episode, we got copyright claims from
Oh,
Toei
yeah.
um, and Hasbro.
Okay.
And I reached out to them and we were like, we were actors on the show. We just want to talk about the episodes. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
We had to take out all of the footage. And so that would basically be our whole episode. So it was down to
Yeah.
5 minutes as opposed to 25 minutes. And so that was our first episode. So we were panicking and we're like, what are we going to do? And I remember God would give me these ideas late at night, literally. And when Kat woke up in the morning, she would have like a whole list of ideas of what we could do. And so, I'm appreciative to those copyrights because it really made us come up with some original content. So now we have
Yeah.
skits, we have live interviews, we have game shows, we just have so much content,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't have had if we wouldn't have had those copyright claims. So I'm
Right.
very appreciative to that. That's been going strong for 5 years. We have over 200 channel members, paying channel members.
Wow.
We meet with them every week. I mean, not every week, every month. We have video chats and all member chats, and actually they've given us a lot of feedback and suggestions on what to add to our channel, what merchandise, and so they've been a really big part of Power Rangers Playback.
It's amazing, and I love how, like you said, you could have taken it one way, but you were like, I'm thankful for this happening because it forced you to be
Yeah.
creative and to come up with something new. And that you turned a negative into a positive, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It really is. We didn't see it as a blessing when we were like, so sorry guys, we can't show you this. And but over, the outcome was great.
Definitely, definitely. So, when you're not doing any of this stuff, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Ah, I love to sit in my pajamas underneath a heated blanket on my couch with my husband and watch some of our favorite television shows.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
look for, I go away on cons. I literally got back yesterday night.
Hmm.
And I'm leaving tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning, to go to Galaxy Richmond Con. And traveling is great because I get to see my friends and I get to meet fans. And but I always look forward to coming home as well and just having that resting time where I'm just like, this is fun. And it's like a recharge to go back out. And then
Yeah.
on Saturdays is our family day. So my son, my older son and his wife and my granddaughter, they come over, and my younger son and his girlfriend and my mother-in-law. My husband cooks, he cooks on Saturdays, and we watch MMA fights
Yeah.
and we play games and it's great. It's a blessing. It really, really is.
Yeah. It's very important to take time to do stuff with family. And I'm noticing that more and more because I have two teenagers now. And I've got one, we got about 3 years left before she's going to go off to college, you know?
Yep.
And so it kind of puts things into perspective of, I can put this on hold. Make time for your family and stuff. So I really appreciate hearing, saying that you have those Saturday family days and stuff, because those are very important to make sure that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
No.
That's the thing. We're
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah.
And so the memories are what's going to last, not, oh, Nakia went to this con away from my family. My family is going to remember, they're going to remember the memories of me when I'm gone,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what makes, that's what, that's what's most important for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So, do you have any goals set for this year when it comes to your production or any of those things?
So the goal is to finish Never Never Kids and to get it sold get it published as a comic series
Hmm.
and then sell it as a television series.
Okay.
That is the goal.
Okay.
I'm in my last year of, I own a convention, Ranger Stop and Pop.
Okay.
That's in Atlanta, and we're in our final year, our seventh and final year. It's June 13th through the 15th, Father's Day weekend at the Omni Atlanta Hotel. And this is going to be the biggest Ranger stop that we've had.
Hmm.
We just keep adding guests. People just keep wanting to come. We're gonna have over 50 Rangers there. We've never had
Oh,
that many
wow.
Rangers. We're gonna have
Yeah.
over 50 Rangers there. And then we're also going to have some pop guests and some creatives, um, writers. So we're going all out. We're going all out for this year, and that's when I'm done with Ranger Stop and Pop. That's going to free up a little bit more time so that I can
Yeah.
focus on my producing, which is my ultimate goal. I would like to be the female Adam Sandler.
There you
Adam
go.
Sandler, yes, I just
Yeah.
love watching his films. He has his
Yeah.
best friends in them.
Yeah.
His wife is in every single movie. Now his daughters are in his movies, and my parents are inside of Back to Bridgewood.
Okay.
And so they'll probably have a small part in every film that I'm a part of. And then I will also continue to bring in some of my friends. So that is my goal. That
That.
is that is one of my goals. I keep saying that. And one day I'm going to meet Adam Sandler. I heard he's an amazing person.
Oh yeah, I've heard he's super nice, and I mean he's down to earth. You can tell that just by looking at him whenever he's talking to people. He's not one of those he's just a normal guy walking down the
Yeah.
street. And I love that. I like to see more people like that.
Same here. Same
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I mean, the thing is we're all folks, we're all people. We should, nobody's more important than somebody else just because they've done certain things. Everybody, and my wife has to tell me that when I do this podcast, because I get certain people on here and I get really nervous and I get tongue tied, and right before I walk out to my garage to do this, she always tells me, remember, they're just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true. I think some celebrities forget that they're just people.
Yeah.
I've been on sets where I've experienced that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like you've got to get a piece of humble pie,
Yeah.
which is exactly what my character on Back to Bridgewood had to experience.
Right.
but yeah, everybody, we're all human in this rat race. We all do the same things. We use the restroom just like everybody else. We're all going to live and die just like
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah,
So some of us, get, larger opportunities than others. That's basically it. But
yeah.
that doesn't make us any different. So,
Right, right. You brought up conventions, and there's a couple things I wanted to ask you about that. One, I didn't know that you actually ran that convention, and that's a large undertaking. I mean, there's a lot that comes with doing that. How do you find the time for that?
well, luckily, I have two business partners, Karen Ashley,
Yeah,
who was the Yellow Ranger before me,
yeah,
and Michael Bioni, who had Ranger Stop Orlando. He's going into his 10th year, so he had already had his con several years before us. And so because he has been a vendor at cons, so he knows the
yeah,
vending side, and Karen and I have been attending conventions, so we know what guests want. So combining our efforts together has been a blessing because not everything falls on me. We each have assigned duties.
yeah,
It's still a year-round, it's still a year-round thing.
yeah,
We also have a very great team that helps us as well. So it is a lot of work,
yeah,
and because I want to start focusing on producing, and Karen has her other projects that she wants to work on, and Mikey as well. That's why we decided that this was going to be our last year so that we can focus on the things that we really, really want to focus in on.
yeah.
But we'll continue to attend conventions as vendors. Mikey's a vendor, and Karen and I as guests, because
Right.
that's something that we is a staple for us as well that we enjoy doing.
About how many of those do you go to a year? Because I always see you're at another one.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow to
Yeah.
Richmond GalaxyCon. Um, I would say 2 to 3 a month on average,
Wow.
so probably 25 to 30 a year.
That's a lot of travel.
And then, towards the end of the year, like in December, I just try to do one,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
because Christmas is my favorite holiday.
Okay.
And I want to be present. I
Yeah.
want to decorate, and I just want to be there for my family. So yeah.
How early do you decorate? Because I might, my wife, her birthday is Christmas Eve. So
Uh,
Christmas is huge in our house. How early
ah,
do you decorate?
we start the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We put our
We,
tree up, and we actually make it a thing. My son and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, they come over, my younger son and his girlfriend, and we play music, Christmas music, and we put up the decorations on the tree, and we
yeah,
drink and play games, and it's fun. It's
that's
just
cool.
fun.
That's cool.
And now my granddaughter, her first year she was only like 6 months, so she really didn't understand. But this
Yeah.
past year she was a year, and so she was putting up the little ornaments herself, and
Oh,
it was so great. Oh,
that's cool.
so great.
And you get to go through seeing that joy in a child's eyes again, with having grandchildren and stuff. My I, I love Christmas. What I was saying though, my wife actually one year we set up in September for Christmas, and
Oh.
there was people when they came to our house for Halloween. Is that your Christmas tree up back there? Yeah. Outside's Halloween, inside's Christmas.
Wow.
So
Wow. That
yeah,
is early.
that's very early, but it's the our favorite time of the year in our house, and sometimes it doesn't come down till February. But
Wow.
this year it didn't get put up until after Thanksgiving, I believe, and then it was taken down pretty quickly because she was like, "I need to clean." So
Oh, well, that's great. But that
yeah,
must be hard though for her to have a Christmas Eve.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Christmas
yeah.
Eve day.
And we try to make it as separate as possible because my son is also on the 20th of
Oh,
December, so we've always tried to make sure that both of them have that separate day, separate from Christmas, that it's not all
yeah,
just here, this is all one thing together.
right.
It's because I mean they deserve to have a special day themselves too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I just have a couple more questions before I get you off of here. um
Okay.
what advice would you give to someone that you wish that you would have received whenever you first started in the business?
Ooh, it's a great question. Um, well, you know what? I'm gonna answer that by saying what I give, the advice that I give others.
Okay.
Um, when people tell me that they want to get into this business, I tell them that you need to have thick skin and you need to be prepared to be told no.
Yeah.
But if God says yes, it does not matter who says no. If God is opening up that door for you, you can hear 50 million no's, but you just need that one yes.
Yeah.
I always use Friends, the show television, the television show Friends as an example. That one show catapulted all of their careers.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
they were all actors before doing different shows and so forth, but it was that one show that took them off. And that's a case for many, many people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even, you know, some actors that I think of that didn't hit like their staple until they were in their 40s and their 50s, and some even older than that. So I just say that what God has for you is for you. Walk in that door. Um, Fearless, even though you could be petrified, just walk in by faith and
Yeah.
just allow God to open up that door for you.
Yeah.
It's a tough business. There's been a lot of ups and downs for me. Um, but I'm like, and there were times when I walked away. I walked away in 2007 because I was sick. I had an autoimmune disease that kind of took me out, and I was like, I'm not going to act anymore. And God literally brought me back in. It was a prayer that I prayed, and He answered it.
Yes.
Um, but if this is for you and God has said that this is for you, then walk in your destiny. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Awesome. I love that. So, do you have anything else that maybe you want to talk about before I get you off of here?
No, just check out my movie, Back to Bridgewood. It's on multiple platforms. It's on Amazon, Fandango, Apple TV, In Demand, and several YouTube and several other platforms. And message me. Let me know what you think about it. It's fun, family friendly, all ages. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram, Nakia Burrise, on Facebook, Nakia.Burrise, and Power Rangers Playback.
All right.
So, yeah, thank you.
Well, this has been really fun. I've enjoyed this a lot. Thank you for coming on here and talking to me. It's been the
Thank you for
highlight of my
having me.
week. Yeah.
Aw, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you.
So I will talk to you for just a few more minutes after we end this recording, but we're going to say bye here for now.
Okay. Bye.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast.